We consume an enormous amount of information from companies and advertisers every single day. In fact, the average American spends nearly 5 hours a day watching television and an additional 6 hours on social media. While we are browsing the internet or watching our favorite shows, we are exposed to a massive number of advertisements, all trying to persuade us to spend our money. We are exposed to even more media when we listen to the radio in our car and when we see a billboard on the side of the road. On social media, there are influencers doing paid promotion and sponsored ads being shown between posts and before videos. And in magazines, there are advertisements every few pages. So there's no doubt that we are being influenced heavily by all of these messages, and these messages are not only influencing what we choose to purchase, but also how we feel towards certain genders. The presence of gender bias in media and marketing is something that has been around for many years. When looking at the various advertisements from throughout the decades, it's clear to see that they have primarily featured successful white men. Women are portrayed far less than men in terms of advertising, as well as in TV shows and movies. In fact, less than 25% of leading roles in Hollywood are female. When females are cast and shown in advertisements, they are usually portrayed in unfavorable ways. For many decades, women have been portrayed as the homemakers. Their primary job is to stay at home with the kids and to cook and clean while the husband is at work. Because of this, women are way more likely than men to be seen as the homemaker in advertisements. They are often featured in ads that are aiming to sell cleaning products and baby products. Looking back on a few of the ads that were put out over the years, it is very clear to see that women were encouraged to do all of the housework. This first image is an ad for Tide laundry detergent and was made in the 1940s. In the ad, there is a woman seen doing her laundry. Similarly, the second photo is an advertisement that was created in the 1950s by Gibson Ultra and showcases a woman in her dress, heels, and an apron cooking in front of the stove. While many would say the idea that women are supposed to be the homemakers has changed throughout the years, there are still many advertisements today that suggest the exact same thing. Let's take a look at a few ads that were put out within the last few years. The image on the right is an advertisement for Mr. Clean, and it not only showcases a woman cleaning, but it also shows her child next to her. There's also a quote that states, "This Mother's Day, get back to the job that really matters." This ad very much enforces the stereotypical idea that a woman's job is to clean the house. The image on the left is for Dolce & Gabbana. It is not really clear what the ad is trying to sell, however, we do see a woman in a dress bent over the sink doing dishes. She is posing quite sexually, and she seems to be making a suggestive face, which brings up my next point. Along with being homemakers, women are also expected to be beautiful, young, and sexual. There is a common beauty standard set for women, which usually suggests being tall, thin, toned, and with perfectly smooth and clear skin. Because of this, most of the ads that feature women tend to focus on their bodies. And a vast majority of the advertisements that I see, they feature young, beautiful, white women, and they are typically posed sexually or wearing only a small amount of clothing. Advertisers also tend to prey on people's insecurities and claim that their products will make them more attractive, which has led to an overwhelmingly large beauty industry. This industry promotes unrealistic beauty standards that are simply unattainable. However, many of them claim that their products are what is needed in order to achieve that ideal body. The vast majority of the female models that are used are unhealthily thin women with seemingly zero flaws. The typical model is 5'11", while the average woman in America is 5'3". The use of Photoshop in their images also makes these women seem like they have no wrinkles, pores, and uneven pigmentation, which for the vast majority of women is just not possible. Here are a few examples of images that have been digitally altered for an ad in a magazine. As you can see, in both of these examples, the women are beautiful in the before photos. They have unique freckles and moles that are removed, and all wrinkles and pigmentation are smoothed out. In the photo on the right, extra contour has been added around the jawline and collarbones to make her appear thinner. Women's bodies are also frequently used as a way to sell product. In many advertisements, they are seen wearing very little clothing and are often posed very sexually. It's also common for advertisers to show women chasing after men, seemingly doing anything they can to get the male's attention. Here are just a few examples of when this has been done. In these 3 photos, a product is being advertised that has nothing to do with women or their bodies. A perfume bottle and 2 different sandwiches are shown next to or on a woman's body with suggestive messages above it. In these next 2 photos, the women appear in the ad purely as decoration. The main focus of the image is the man, but the women are accompanying him, almost as a way to boost the status of the male, and to suggest that by purchasing this beer or this perfume, that they will attract women. Women are not the only group of people that are portrayed stereotypically in the media, however. Men also face this challenge. Just as women have been expected to be the homemakers, men are expected to be the breadwinners. They are often seen in the media as successful, hardworking businessmen. They can be seen wearing nice-fitting suits and often with a briefcase. They are usually well-kept with styled hair and a trimmed beard. Here are a few examples of what the typical successful businessman may look like in advertisements. On the other hand, men are also expected to be strong, muscular, and dominant. In fact, the majority of the heroic roles in television are played by men, and a vast majority of video games feature strong male characters who utilize violence to save the day. Men are often portrayed this way in advertisements as well. Just like they do with women, advertisers feed off of people's insecurity in order to sell more product. These muscular, successful men are often shirtless in ads and have women draped all over them. The first image on the left is an advertisement for a clothing company. In this particular ad, the man is shirtless and has a very muscular abdomen. We always talk about how body standards only affect women, but men are also affected. The advertisers hope that when men see these ads, they will want to buy their products in hopes that it will help them be more like the guy in the ad. The photo to the right shows more of a violent, brave, and independent version of masculinity that is portrayed by the media. This sort of image may suggest that in order to be considered cool or brave, men need to purchase a nice sports car. Men are most often portrayed as violent in movies and television shows, whereas in magazines and TV commercials, they are portrayed as successful and as the breadwinner. However, I do believe that the expectation to be strong and independent is often something that is shown across all platforms of advertising. For transgender or non-binary individuals, their representation is close to zero. It wasn't until recently that they started making an appearance in advertisements, and even then, it is a very small amount. In fact, only around 0.3% of advertisements feature transgender individuals, even though they make up around 1% of the total population. I searched through dozens of magazines and scoured the internet trying to find some examples of ads that feature transgender individuals, and only came across a couple. The few ads that I found were television ads for Pantene that usually told the person's story in some way. No brands that I could find showed just an image featuring one transgender person in a magazine. So what are these messages in the media doing to the way we perceive ourselves and others? These images depicted in the media are destroying our self-esteem and making many people feel helpless. Women now think they are overweight, too old, or too short. They believe their skin isn't clear enough, and no matter what they try, it will never be like the photoshopped model in the ad. For men, they feel too skinny, weak, and like a failure because no matter what they do or what they buy, their life is still not like the person in the ad. Because we consume hundreds of advertisements a day, these images have real, long-lasting impacts on the way we view ourselves and others. These images help reinforce outdated gender stereotypes and gender roles. As hard as we try to break out of these stereotypes, being exposed to them time and time again makes it nearly impossible. When one brand steps up and changes the way that they portray people in their advertisements, it's quickly buried underneath all of the other ads from competing companies. The main way to put an end to these stereotypes is to talk about it as much as possible and to support the brands who are choosing to be diverse with their advertisements. Here are some examples of brands who are doing an amazing job at being inclusive to all genders, body types, races, and sexual orientations. MAC Cosmetics recently started upping their advertisement game and has been including people of all races and genders. They recently started a campaign about diversity titled, "What's Your Thing?" This image is one example of an ad that they put out. Revolution is another cosmetics brand that is incredibly inclusive. These two photos include people from all walks of life, all different races, religions, genders, and ages. This brand received an enormous amount of support, and I think many companies could take notes from the things Revolution is doing. Lastly, Dollar Shave Club, a monthly shaving subscription company, also does an excellent job at being inclusive. In this photo, there are 12 people, all with different skin colors, hairstyles, ages, body types, and so on, giving the impression that anyone can enjoy their products. So while the majority of advertisers are still using stereotypical images of men and women, many companies have started to take a different path. There are now a greater variety of people shown in advertisements, and companies are aiming to be more inclusive with the people in their ads. However, we still have a very long way to go. It's important that we all notice the messages that are being sent to us, discuss it with other people, and spread the word. Some people don't realize the tight grip that these companies have on us, so it's important to start the conversation. Be supportive of the brands who are breaking the mold and are becoming more inclusive, because it's a change that is much needed in this world.